Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What's the motherfucking deal? Welcome to Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston, Texas homer network. We're talking all sports, but only Houston. But tonight we got some special sauce stirring up for you. Yes, 2 nights in a row of special sauce. Look, we giving it to you the way they ain't gonna give it to you. We got a gentleman from the round table. We got a special guest in the house tonight. Who do we have joining us tonight on the sauce, man?
Man, you got your boy Third Coast Sports TV Weeks in the building once again. How's everybody in Sauce Nation?
Already. And who's our special guest this evening?
Man, we got my boy, we got UCF Jaguar up in here, man. First time on Sauce Sports. Appreciate you guys for having me on and previewing this matchup with you guys.
Already. Yeah, I know some folks have been requesting, been saying we got to get UCF on, man. So I'm glad we can finally make that happen. So here's the deal tonight, man. We're gonna talk a little Texans and Jaguars. We're gonna continue to expand on that topic, and end of the season coming up tomorrow, the end of the regular season, and so we're just gonna kind of take a look back on some of the matchups from this year, and then we're gonna look at what's the most likely to happen tomorrow, and UCF will be able to give us an in-depth look at kind of what took place with the Jags throughout the season this year, and then we'll kind of talk about our expectations with the Texans going on from this point forward. But before we get into all that, man, we got to talk about the most important thing happening in the city of Houston. If you don't know, that is Sauce Nation, man. We got to get into a little special Sauce Nation roll call. Yes, some Saturday sauce. I told you we're going to start coming 7 days a week with it, man. Sauce at 7, D and at 10 if you don't know. Let's see, we have joined us tonight, and then we will get in it to win it. Hector Rodriguez, Tom Ball representing already. Kenneth Albert Villalobos, what's the motherfucking deal? Houston B, DeMarcus Johnson. Kendrick Randolph, what's the motherfucking deal? Roman Kemp. Heidi, the basketball tiger. Let's see, Clarence Austin, what's the motherfucking deal? See, we got some Jags fans in here too. Myron Benson, what's the motherfucking deal? T'Challa, real swift. Homicide nigga, what's the motherfucking deal? Jason Ducey, always good to see you. Go DJ. Let's see, J Pac, Jesus Olivio. Let's see, McVice, Michael Corona, Herb Gotti the Don. Let's see, Michael Saldivar, Shelby GT. What's the motherfucking deal? Edwin Baptiste, always good to see you, man. Hey, here is the motherfucking deal. Let's just go ahead and get into it, man. A lot of conversation, a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll get the conversation going for a little while, and maybe about 30, 40 minutes so, we'll open up the sauce line that you guys call in with any questions you may have for the sauce, you may have for UCF, anything y'all want to ask about the Jags. El Lobo, man, always good to see you, man. And Jay Walker, Zachary, Jay Dizzle, what's the motherfucking deal? PNA, I see you. So just kind of getting into it, man. Like I said, it's been almost a tale of 2 seasons when you look at it. I think the Jaguars started off a little bit better than we did, and then kind of, once that 3rd, 4th week started rolling around, things start trending in different directions. Ultimately, a lot of people, I would honestly say, we thought, beginning of the year, that the Jaguars would probably be the stiffest competition. The one thing that we did say early on was that, the issue that we saw, and I think we kind of spoke on that last year too, was just that Blake Bortles, we never thought that he was really the guy. I know a lot of Jags fans were kind of excited, maybe thinking he kind of reached that level, that he needed to get to when he was in the playoffs last year, and they were hoping that would carry over through the regular season. I don't think we saw too much of that, and ultimately, I think they're looking in a different direction. And so first, I kind of want to ask UCF, and then we'll get into some conversation, man. What is the general feeling about Blake Bortles at this time for most Jag fans, or you yourself personally?
Yeah, with Blake Bortles, man, I know he came into the season with some high expectations. He ended off the season pretty well last year. The last 4 or 5 games of the season, and then into the playoffs, obviously he had that really good run. But the feeling around Jackson right now, 90% of people know he's not the answer. Only the most optimistic, unrealistic Jaguar fans actually do believe that he can be salvaged and that he is the answer. But when it comes down to it, man, we're going to be drafting a quarterback hopefully early on this year. Hopefully, now with Herbert declaring, hopefully we can somehow pick up Dwayne Haskins. And that's who I'm kind of looking at in the draft. And that's really the deal, man. We got to draft a quarterback. Free agency really never works out. What teams out there actually get their franchise star quarterback from free agency besides, back in the day where Green Bay traded for Brett Favre. So Blake Bortles, he's out of here.
Okay. And just kind of looking back at with some of the talent that was available, last year, and I know you guys came out and picked Fournette. Are there any regrettable feelings around Jacksonville? Because, Fournette kind of had an up and down year, a lot of injuries this year, kind of kept him sidelined. And then, towards the end of the year, I know he had the suspension, I think, for fighting and some other things. But are the feelings still pretty good about Fournette, or people, we kind of stuck with ain't nothing we can really do about it, or are there any kind of regrettable feelings about that?
I mean, it depends on who you ask when it comes to regrettable decisions, but I think most people can understand that we should have gotten either Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson in that draft. And, there's actually rumors that came out that Dave Caldwell, our general manager, actually talked Tom Coughlin out of Deshaun Watson, because Tom Coughlin was actually apparently a big fan of Deshaun Watson. He actually really wanted Deshaun Watson, but our general manager, Dave Caldwell, did his best sales act and got them to draft a guy like Fournette over Deshaun Watson, and that was just a terrible decision, not only just because you passed up on a franchise quarterback, but Leonard Fournette has been terrible. I mean, he's been dealing with injuries, he's been dealing with suspensions. I mean, he's putting his helmet on, running across the field, punching people. He said to the media the other day that he could be in better shape. How could you? What do you mean? What do you mean you're not in good shape? You literally your ass sat out a whole entire week as a suspension. You're gonna sit here and say you could be in better shape, man? Fuck out of here with that shit, man. I don't like Fournette. I would try to package him up for a trade, maybe see if anybody will offer up like a second, third round pick for him. Tired of his ass, 2017. One of the worst decisions our franchise ever made by passing up on Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Okay. Well, we as Texas fans definitely thank you for it.
Absolutely.
Wink, man, your thoughts, kind of just looking at the beginning of the year, because I don't get know around here in South, man, we definitely thought the Jags would be our biggest contender this year. Right. We really had no faith. We didn't think Andrew Luck was going to bounce back the way he did. We never had faith in Tennessee. We all know what Mariota, mediocre Mariota really is. Just kind of looking at the Jags season and how the Texans season went. What was the biggest surprise to you?
Well, I mean, when you look at the Jaguars, everyone says, it's Blake Bortles the reason why the Jaguars aren't good. He's a part of the reason, but really the number one reason, honestly, has just been the injury bug, man. And you guys know from last year what an injury bug can do to you. And, right off the bat, the very first game, Leonard Fournette gets down in the second quarter. He didn't play a full game until literally our 9th game of the year. He went down with injury. We built our offense around him, and we built our offense around having a power back, and we had no backup power back. We had TJ Yeldon in there, who's more of a third down specialist, who's more of a catch the ball out of the backfield kind of guy. He got injured, and we were able to sustain success over the first 4 games of the season. We went 3-1. We were able to beat the Patriots and stuff like that, but after a while, man, they catch up with you. It's hard to play away from your identity. And then we had guys dropping left and right. I mean, 4/5 of our offensive line is on the IR. We had our number one wide receiver, Marquise Lee, get injured, tears ACL in the preseason. We drafted the DJ Chark in the second round. He hasn't been around at all. Just the whole entire offensive side of the ball are just dropping like bad habits, man. And that's really where it started. And then, after that, just the bad play of Blake Bortles and a bunch of different things when it comes to discipline concerns. And really, that's the deal with the Jaguars, man. And the big thing about the Jaguars is we were able to make the playoffs last year. And one reason we felt good about Bortles is because, last year we won a division because the quarterback play was not very good. I mean, when you take out Deshaun Watson, he had a really magical 6-game run. He was the best over that period. But other than that, man, the Houston Texans were out there, trotting out with Tom Savage. They had TJ Yates out there. You had Marcus Mariota in and out of injury every week. The Colts were playing Brissett. I mean, it was a division of just bad quarterback play. And, Blake Bortles might have been the best quarterback out of, all those 4 kind of replacement guys. But this year, look at us now. We're at the bottom. Right now, Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck are, it's a battle between them when it comes to the best quarterbacks in the division. And who has a chance to win the AFC South in Week 17? It's either going to be the Texans or the Colts. So that's the issue with the Jaguars, man. The injury bug hit us bad. Obviously, the quarterback play is lagging behind the other people in the division right now. And we're playing for next year right now, man. We have some sustainable pieces. We have a pretty decent defensive line. We're going to have to cut a lot of guys because we got some salary cap issues. But everyone's looking up at the Texans and Colts right now, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. Man, Wink, though, your thoughts just kind of on the situation that, as a Texans fan looking at the Jags, what's the biggest surprise in your opinion?
As a Texans fan looking at
No,
the
no,
Jags.
no. I'm talking about
Oh
Wink,
no.
for Wink.
Oh
Wink's opinion.
man, it's man. It is. I knew they would be bad. We knew they would be bad, but I didn't think. I thought maybe like 8-9 wins bad. I didn't think like 5-6 wins. That I didn't see. Even with Blake Bortles as the QB, I didn't even see that. I mean, for that, I knew he wasn't going to play. I told Clarence, a guy that we have that's in here, he's been a pretty active Jag member from the Sauce. And before the season, he was claiming that dudes and, inside of the organization was going to do this and do that, that they were going to open up the playbook and shit like that for Blake Bortles. I was like, well, what weapons? I predicted Marcus Lee to go down early in the season, and he went down before he even stepped on the field. I was like, okay, that's one. I was like, you don't have the tight end play. I knew that was going to hurt y'all. That was a major reason. Cutting Mercedes Lewis last year after the production that he gave you in his best season, he's a little long in the tooth, but like, goddamn, like third down, he was very critical for you dudes. I knew the team was going to be able to run off of the back of Fournette. You proved that last year, and early on in the game, like you said, the man that missed entirely too many fucking games. You cannot, when the game is predicated around a rookie, a sophomore running back with injury problems, you're bound to go down in flames. You let Allen Hurns go to the Cowboys. You could have afforded that deal. You let Allen Robinson go. DJ Chark, honestly, we thought that he would be very good with y'all because in the Sauce, like a lot of among people in the Sauce, he was like one of our top favorite, wide receivers coming out in and the Ronnie Harrison pick. When y'all got him, we were like, God damn, like what are they doing over there? When we were actually doing our live draft, we were like, man, look, they're gonna be a problem. The defense is still very respectable. I mean, they're fifth in points allowed, second in yards allowed, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of other things, you know what I'm saying. But it's just like the cohesion isn't there. The pass rush, honestly, is nowhere near what it was last year. But we all know most of the sacks that y'all ended up getting were against the Colts and the Texans anyway. And that was with horrible O-lines and, bad quarterback play from Tom Savage, Taylor Heineke and all of these guys, But a lot of Jags fans were getting besides themselves. And it was a shame to know the history. Like, you guys had been to the playoffs since like 2007. It's 10 years. And like, right when I think like after the Texans game, the first Texans game in week 6, I was seeing Jags fans like, we not going to the playoffs again for another 10 years type shit. I seen Jags fans was like getting real irate, and you can ask even Jags fans in here. When our season started off in 0-3, we were feeling real bad. And we were just like, man, we saw y'all beat the shit out of the Patriots. We was like, bro, like, how is we gonna continue with that? But even though we were only losing games by like 5 and 3 points and shit, and maybe a touchdown to the Patriots, outside of that, it's like we were always in those games. And once this team started fixing shit and they started turning around and they went on a 9-game win streak, it was just out of touch for anybody in the division. I mean, true enough, nobody predicted the Colts to do what they were doing. Quentin Nelson wasn't looking the way that he was going. He's looking now, and look at that O-line; they're looking very good. And it's just like I didn't know until recently y'all had as many, linemen going down until like a few weeks ago. I was like, damn, they out of linemen like that. But I was still like, the running back play and how you use, because I heard guys really talking about this Nathaniel Hackett character that y'all let go recently. He wasn't aiding the process at all. It just seems like, and then in games like that Eagles game when y'all were in London, DJ Chark, I watched that game. DJ Chark missing easy ass touchdowns in his hands in the fucking red zone. He did this shit 2 weeks in a row. And I was just like, bro, how can you sustain a career when you getting like the fucking ball is hitting your hands in the bread basket and you can't bring it in? So it's more than one reason. I mean, Blake Bortles is the main reason, but it's not like he's getting help from any of the receivers. You don't have a sustainable tight end, and your run game, you don't know who the fuck is going to be in and running back. So it's just like, then you got Ramsey flying off at the handle. I don't really blame him for shit, honestly. Like the shit that he's done. I personally like it, but it's just like Telvin Smith, a lot of other guys, it's just like they are nowhere near to the brink that they were last year, and the shit is deeply concerning. And it's almost like, what is Doug Marrone going to do with this team going forward?
Okay. Now, kind of taking a look at this game, and then we'll kind of touch on some other things, because I know the folks want to talk about what's going to happen now. Like you said, a lot of injuries. You guys had a lot of things going on, kind of depleted. And something I noticed kind of early on, even in that first game, kind of wonder about the chemistry because it wasn't all on Blake. There was a lot of drop passes even in that first game.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that should have been easy, buddy. But going into this game, looking at this situation, I still feel like the Jags are going to play pretty tough because, I think Blake is going to be playing for a spot somewhere. He knows that this could be his time, could be up in Jacksonville. So he still wants to have a spot somewhere in the league. So he's going to come out playing hard, trying to prove himself, having another opportunity. I'm sure the Jags would love to play spoiler. I know the Texans are probably not the Jags' favorite second team or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure that they, will come out and try to play hard. Just as far as this Jags defense versus this Texans offense, where do you see the advantages and mismatches in your opinion, UCF?
Well, one thing I would say, man, is obviously the Texans don't really have the greatest offensive line, but one thing that makes an offensive line better is when your quarterback can scramble around everywhere, and that's one thing that the Jaguars have not been able to do this whole entire year is stop scrambling quarterbacks. I mean, it's been a huge issue. So, I mean, when it comes to the run game, I feel like we can stop the run game pretty well. I mean, when we go man for man over there. But, the weapons out there that you guys have with, obviously DeAndre Hopkins, one of my favorite players in the league. What's that wide receiver, Kuti or something like that? He's a nice player. And then, AJ Boye is out right now. So, of course, every twice a season, the DeAndre Hopkins versus Jalen Ramsey matchup is so much fun to watch. But you guys will be able to take advantage of our second, third cornerbacks out there. You guys take advantage of having your guy Deshaun Watson, and really the whole thing is just to move the chains on us. If you can keep the defense out on the field, slowly move the ball on us, make the defense tired, and then just you guys defense way overmans our offense. So I mean, that's not even close. So as long as you guys can just move the ball on our defense, get up. If you guys can get to 17 points, the game is won for you guys. I mean, I'm gonna keep it real for you.
I mean, that's what it seems like it's taken so far. I mean, it's just like guys putting up 20 plus points on the Jags throughout this year. When you really look at the win and loss column, it's just like the offense you guys have isn't even sustainable to keep up. And it's not like you have if a team goes up on the Jaguars, you have no way of fighting it back. Like, you just don't. I mean, you really don't. Like you say, inconsistent run game, no tight end. You played Cody Kessler. It looked like he would have ended up giving y'all probably a better chance to winning this game over Blake Bortles. But Blake Bortles not playing for Blake Bortles hasn't played for 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
Well, he went in last week and actually helped us win the game. He had 3 first down runs. He had a couple of good strikes. I mean, Blake Bortles, it's kind of like comparing, dog shit to horse shit and actually what smells worse. Blake Bortles is better, but I don't know what that's really saying.
Right. And it's just like, and then the worst part about this, Josh Lambo is out. So who the fuck is going to be kicking you? Who the fuck's kicking your extra points and, kicks from 40 to 50 yards when you get in the pinch? I really see this situation because the run game from you guys, I'm not worried about it at all, regardless if Fournette was fully healthy. We know how to stuff the run. If it's nothing that the Texans can do, not worried about that. And you guys dropping the ball, I really don't mind the Texans playing soft in this situation because you guys do still have guys like D.D. Westbrook who can go down the middle and do shit. But, I mean, he's been inconsistent all season. He's probably the best option, but, I mean, is that really saying much? It's really not. And I mean, it's just like the O-line you guys have. You on your 4th string, 5th string right tackle right now. J.J. Watt is about to eat. David Clowney is about to eat. The defensive front, I mean, I'm not expecting 5 or 6 sacks, but then again, you never know, man. And these are the type of games where J.J. Watt at the end of the season has really ate on the Jaguars regardless of any season when he's been healthy. So, and so is Jadeveon Clowney. But, our concerns, we have concerns that we have on our defense, which we're probably getting into later on in the show. But as it stands right now, I mean, I don't want to just say we're about to beat the brakes off of y'all, but I won't be surprised if we do.
Well, I will say this, though. You never know what Jaguars defense will show up. I mean, the Colts have one loss in the last, eight or 9 weeks, and it was a 6-0 game against the Jaguars. So I mean, the Jaguars have the ability to stop teams. It just, you never know what defense is going to show up. I mean, we beat the Colts 6-0. We beat, the Dolphins, held the Dolphins to just 7 points after they took their, opening drive all the way down the field. It's just, I mean, the thing is though, Texans are a lot better than the Jaguars, and if the Texans don't win this game when the division is on the line, then that's a shame on you guys, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of divisional contenders and things, just a quick, I'd like to know your opinion. Who do you think will win out of the Colts and Titans game?
I mean, I'd take the Colts. I don't. First of all, I don't like the Titans at all. I hate those guys, and I think the quarterback play is better. Titans are a tough team to watch, man. They remind me of the Dallas Cowboys, but I think the Colts are just a better team. And I'd have to take the Colts that game.
Okay. Now you mentioned something earlier, man, talking about some of the cap issues, and I see Clarence in the chat, talking about some restructuring, some guys, some other things like that. What do you think it's going to take for the Jags to kind of get those numbers right to be competitive again next season, as far as with the cap hits a lot of these guys are taking?
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, if we're going to go through, I'm going to go and cut some guys right now. We already cut Barry Church. That saved us a good amount of money. We're going to cut Deshaun Gibson. We're gonna have to go through and probably cut defensive tackle Avery Jones. I like to do our best to keep guys like AJ Bouye and Calais Campbell and Marcel Darius. We could potentially even, this is kind of a big debate, but potentially even cutting Telvin Smith and plugging Miles Jack in that weak side linebacker spot and actually finding a true middle linebacker. But there's some moves that can be made to free up a lot of money. It's just we got to be able to have the guys to fill in there. And then just the last 2 years, man, our drafts have been a little bit sketchy, and we haven't, like right now when it comes to DJ Chark in the second round, I don't feel comfortable that he can go in there and, perform at a high level given what he's done for us this year. We drafted the 4th round right tackle and Will Richardson. He was like literally a healthy scratch the first 3 weeks, and he gets put on the IR. So like we've been drafting guys that I don't really feel confident can overtake these starting positions. So it's going to be tough. We're going to have a good draft this year, and we're going to have to have some big decisions be made.
Taven Bryan was a horrible pick.
Oh God!
And they compared him to J.J. Watt. That was
I know.
That didn't make no sense.
Well, people like saying things. People like having those hot takes that end up being real cold later on. But
yeah, people like the pro comparisons. I was watching the Michigan game today, and they're comparing Shea Patterson to Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, get out of here, man. Cut with that bullshit.
So just kind of looking at the front office, looking at the coaching staff, I mean, what issues do you see with the Jags? Are there going to have to be some changes? Are you looking at a head coach change? Are you comfortable with the coaching? Or, what do you think there's an issue there? Or is it just more of a personnel deal?
Well, I think the only person that's safe right now is Tom Coughlin, the executive of football operations. I think they're gonna fire the GM. I think they're gonna fire. They already fired the offense coordinator. I think they'll fire the defense coordinator. And with Doug Marrone, it's a tough question. He led us to the AFC Championship game his first year as a head coach. So that was something that I've really never even seen in my life. I'm still a young dude, but I would be in favor of keeping him and everything. But the thing that concerns me is just some of the disciplinary issues. Like we've had all kinds of just stupid mental blunders, the stupid personal fouls and all that kind of stuff. So, I would say, I wouldn't mind firing Doug Marrone, but at the same time, the Jaguar coaching job becomes open is probably the least attractive out there for 2 reasons. First of all, we don't have a quarterback. And second of all, you have to report to Tom Coughlin. These head coaches are going to come in here. Head coaches just naturally have a big ego. They're going to come in there and think they're the smartest person in the room. But all of a sudden, you're going to have this head coaching job. You have to, tell Mr. Coughlin every little thing that you're doing. So, I would say probably keep Marrone an extra year. Hopefully we can get a decent quarterback in the next year's draft that we can say, okay, we have our quarterback, we can build upon this, and then we can have some offensive, gurus come in and say, okay, I can work with this guy, and we can make shit fly. But at the moment right now, I would fire the GM, fire the coordinators, probably keep Doug Marrone, and see how it plays out, man. But I wouldn't fire him just yet, just because of how unattractive really the head coaching position is in Jacksonville right now.
Okay, man. Wink, looking at Jacksonville, looking at kind of the situation that they got going on the outside, looking in. I mean, what stands out to you with that front office? I know we talked about even I think the week after they played us that they were having fights on the sideline or in the locker room or some things like that. We heard of a couple of other instances, and we heard a lot of frustration. Even when Seth Payne was on, he was talking about how much of a stickler. I'm glad you mentioned that UFC that Coughlin is, and how hands on he is, and that it's cool when you're winning, but you kind of don't want to deal with that type of shit. When you're not getting those wins, it becomes more frustrating, becomes more of an annoyance. So, I mean, what do you see as a Texans fan looking at that organization? What stands out the most to you? What do you think that would be ideal for them to kind of get back in the position they were in last year?
Get rid of David Caldwell if he's still there. Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Oh, yeah, get rid of his punk ass, because at the end of the day, he's the one who brought in a lot of these guys. He's been in charge of a lot of the drafts, and look at what the shit's got you. If it's clear that Tom Coughlin can look at guys like Deshaun Watson and know special players that want those players on you guys' football team, he just needs to go ahead and be the GM. I mean, if he can look at talent like that, he's going to end up – I don't see him putting himself in this Jaguars football team in another situation where they're going to end up going back, regressing like another 3 to 4 years, because this team is constantly rebuilding. It just seems like every few years outside of last year, and they have been building talent. It's only so many years you can draft in the top 5 before you start stacking up premium talent and winning football games on a consistent basis. The Houston Texans were in that spot, and look at where we are. We've been pretty consistent over the last few years. If we beat the Jaguars 4 of the last 6 years, we could say we'd have won the AFC South. And it hasn't even truly been close. Like, this is the only year that you can say that the division is really in a situation where like 3 teams will either had the potential to be 10-6, or like it's coming down to the wire in week 17 that some shit needs to happen and teams need to pull their weight and make sure that they close out these games in order to make it to these playoff runs. So the fact that you have that, and in years prior, I want the Jaguars to be good because I want the entire AFC South to be a fucking powerhouse. I'm sick of people talking down on the division. I want the Jaguars to be good. They always give us good-ass games, regardless if they're sorry or not. You know what I'm saying? Chad Henne in games was taking us to overtime, and just like over the years, like Jalen Ramsey's first year going against number 17, and we was barely winning games when we went to Jacksonville and when they came to Houston. They always give us problems. They're a pesky football team. They're great on defense, but they have no offense to speak of. And I think if they pour all of their resources into offense, making sure that you revamping the O-line, well, I think the O-line won't be a problem for them next year because dudes will finally be healthy. I think it's just a health problem when you come there, but you'll be able to build quality depth going forward. But the fact that they get to draft high once again, they got the pick of the litter. I mean, like, you able to get you a top-notch player, and let's just be real. With a guy like Haskins, he's going to get overlooked just the way Deshaun Watson get. But the thing is, you got to have somebody in here who's willing to take a gamble and not have that traditional quarterback shit at the front of their brain. If you bring one of those guys in and you don't want just a guy who can win, make plays, be accurate, and protect the ball, then obviously you don't want to win going forward. And that's just really what it's going to take. And honestly, Tom Coughlin needs to have a sit down with Leonard Fournette. And or just, like UCF said, I'd go ahead and cut the loss because you can get a running back in any round of the draft. Like, great running backs come out on a yearly basis, and dudes you don't think that are going to show up. I'd go ahead and cut my losses with him right now. He hasn't been as good as advertised anyway, even when he has been healthy. So and just invest in your fucking your wide receiver core and your tight end core. You do that. I mean, finding a quarterback is going to be hard because who are you going to get to be your head coach? That's going to be a major concern because at least on the as an offensive coordinator, who the hell are you going to get? Who do you have in mind, and who you would like to be your offensive coordinator, UCF?
I mean, I don't have anyone necessarily in mind. I mean, there's some guys out there that I'm all right with, but I mean, I'd rather get a guy that hasn't been having an offense coordinator position yet, just some guy that we can find, as opposed to a bunch of office coordinators and stuff that has failed like here and there. I mean, I wouldn't mind a guy like maybe like like Mike Penn or something like that to come in, some kind of a guy that's kind of done it for. But I'd rather just find a QB coach out there, or find a young guy that we can say, okay, this guy needs his opportunity to show what he's got because he hasn't really had that opportunity yet. I'm kind of like that with coordinators and head coaches. I like finding new head coaches, guys that are new to the game. But whoever they decide to hire, I mean, those guys get paid more than I do. I think Tom Coughlin will be able to find the necessary guys to put the job in place. But I'd rather get a guy that's innovative and not a guy that's like, oh, we're gonna run the ball and play great defense and run this power eye bullshit. Like you see some of the best offenses out there: the Saints, the Rams, the Chiefs. These different teams, man, they spread the ball out. They have extremely accurate quarterbacks. They've got weapons all over the place. That's another thing. I mean, as bad as the Jaguars quarterback play has been, we have no tight ends. We have no go-to wide receivers. I mean, we have D.D. Westbrook, but this guy's more of a – I like him, but he's more of a wide receiver number 2. I think he'd be better if he was like a Will Fuller to a DeAndre Hopkins, or if he was like a Calvin Ridley to like a Julio Jones kind of thing. We need that number 1 guy, and that'll open things up. And we've never had a tight end in this franchise history. We tried with guys like Julius Thomas. Shit just didn't work. So just need to get some offensive pieces in here finally. I feel good about our offensive line just because, our left tackle Cam Robinson, he was in his second year. He got injured second game of the year. Left guard Andrew Norwell, highest paid left guard in the NFL. You overpay for guys, whatever. Our center Brandon Leonard is pretty decent. We'll have to figure out what to do at the right guard and right tackle spots, but we just need some playmakers, man. That's what this offense needs, some playmakers.
Okay, man, very interesting point because you mentioned coaching and OCs and the way you were talking about coaching styles, and here in Texans land, Sauce Nation especially, people are not the biggest fans of B.O.B. Me personally, I have my feelings. I feel like we need an OC. I just kind of want to know how the feeling is from an outsider looking at this Texans franchise. What are your thoughts on a coach like Bill O'Brien?
Me personally, I love Bill O'Brien, man. I was wanting you guys to fire him because I do think he's a good head coach. I mean, this guy can win divisions with nobody at quarterback. I'm saying? You guys have had all kinds of, weak-ass dudes cycle in there and you're able to win the divisions. I think he's a good coach. I've seen some of his videos when it comes to some of his coaching techniques where he actually talks football. This guy knows a good deal of football, and I was wanting you guys to fire him because I do think he's a good coach, but he of course didn't make it. I don't think a lot of people really, a lot of Jaguar fans and stuff like that really understand the kind of coach that he is, just because they're kind of looking at it from afar. But I like Bill O'Brien, man. I think he's a good head coach, and I think he's shown it this year, man. I mean, he's got, after starting off 0-3, you guys have rattled off like since then you had like 2 losses. I mean, it's been outstanding, and I think it'd be a huge mistake to get rid of Bill O'Brien because it's hard to find good head coaches in the league, man. I mean, you can get rid of this guy, then you'll have your next, Romeo Crennel head coach or like whatever, what I'm saying? But I don't know. I like Bill O'Brien personally.
Okay, all right. So here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. We're going to continue to ask some question things, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the sauce line here and let you guys have some calls and things that you guys want to call in, any questions you want to ask, UCF pertaining to the Jags game. Clarence, I see you in the mix, man. You ain't called in a while. We'd like to hear from you. I know you had a couple of comments about some of the cuts and trades that he was speaking on. And then, like I say, Texas fan, any questions you guys may have about the Jaguars, anything like that. And like I said, we'll take those calls when we get the proper ear gear in here, and then we'll get that fired up. But like I say, just kind of looking back at this game, man, and it was very interesting. Like I say, with this whole situation, again, you guys talking about injuries, and we know how the injury bug goes because, shit, it seems like every team in Houston gets bit by that bitch at the wrong fucking time, even with Demarius going down. I think that's going to be a critical issue, going forward, even into the playoffs and things like that. That's going to make it a little bit difficult, even though he wasn't here very long. Just kind of, if you were to make a prediction on this game, what do you got there, UCF?
I think y'all wax our asses. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, man. And I honestly, I hope that we are competitive. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to win this game. I want to be able to. Last game we beat the Dolphins. If we would have lost, we'd be drafting at number 4. We dropped all the way to number 9. And I'm not someone who's ever says lose game for draft position. But when you need a quarterback, I don't give a shit, man. All bets are off. Right. When we beat the Colts in 2011, final game of the year, we beat the Colts. You know what that did? That gave them the first overall pick, and they got Andrew Luck. That was a franchise-changing loss that the Colts had. Losing only hurts us at this point. I don't give a shit about culture. We were in the AFC Championship game last year. I don't give a crap about building wins and stuff like that. I hope we're competitive. I'd rather lose by a score of 27-24, something like that, than squeaking out like a 9-7 victory or something like that. I mean, I'd like to see some good things. I'd like to see some young guys like DJ Chark will be playing tomorrow. I'd like to see some stuff out of him. We have this with Fournette not going to be playing. We're going to have this guy Dave Williams that we called up from the Broncos practice squad. He went in one game this year and actually did better than Fournette. I'd like to see what he has. I want to see what Dede Westbrook. I want to see what the building blocks of this team can do. Other than that, some of these guys that we're going to cut, I don't give a shit what they do. We're going to be cutting like guys like Malik Jackson. Malik Jackson has 2 sacks. Whatever. I'd rather see our young guys go in there and make plays. So. With this game, I mean, you guys were here last year. You guys got to take the season for what it is, accept that it's not your year, and move on with it, man. I'm excited for Monday to come so we can start talking about how we're going to fix this damn team.
Shit, you sound like us fucking what? After Deshaun Watson went down last year and after that Seahawks game. You sound exactly like us. A lot of dudes got depleted, but it's different from y'all because everybody knew y'all had an elite defense and an elite running game, and y'all had a decent O-line. But nobody expected the shit to fall and crack open the way that it did. And, in the offseason, I figured, okay, y'all would end up getting more dudes, in terms of the offensive weaponry. And when I saw the guys y'all was signing and that y'all were just letting dudes go, I was like, what? In my mind, I was like, okay, this is why they won't end up being as good as advertised, because who the fuck is Blake Bortles going to throw the ball to? That was always my thought process. I'm like, bro, who the fuck is consistent enough for Blake Bortles to win with? And the fact that the organization, they kind of left him high and dry. Also, I mean, I put this, it's really an organizational issue as to why you guys don't have the offensive weaponry that you should. You would think when you had a defense that was number 1 last year, and you added pieces, drafted depth at the safety position and defensive line and a couple other positions. And guys have been pretty relatively healthy on y'all defense the entire year. The Texans, we suffered on defense. We lost stars on defense, depth players, and we lost offensive linemen, your starting quarterback, receivers. Like, dudes were going down all over the place. And we had bad coaching at that time. So it was just like, we got it from all angles. Y'all really, truly are only suffering on the offensive side of the football, and I feel that shit can be corrected this offseason.
Yeah, and you got to think, man, injury bugs can hit any team, no matter how good their offensive talent is. Because you look, one team that has an MVP quarterback, that has one of the top 5 wide receivers in the game, is the Atlanta Falcons. They got hit with the injury bug, and I think they have as many wins as the Jaguars. So, you really wonder if the Jags did have a better quarterback, like, how much better would that have been? Just because we don't have a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, you have freaking nobody's throwing a ball to DeAndre Hopkins, and he can get 1,000 yards every season. I mean, he was able to play good with every quarterback besides Brock Osweiler. Literally the Jaguars, they have no one to throw the ball to besides like a guy like Dede Westbrook. But they have a quarterback that wasn't able to do much. They got the run game has just been lagging because we decide that. I don't know. I get really frustrated when I talk about Fournette because I can't stand his ass right now. But whatever, man. It's I need tomorrow's game to end, man.
Man, just looking at some of the opportunities that you guys had though this year, looking at the year that Bortles has had, man. I know, early in the draft or late in the draft, you had Lamar Jackson was still on the table. I know Bridgewater was available, kind of for trade throughout the year, and there was somebody else that was a solid name QB. Do you feel like any kind of regret on them passing up any guys like that, or you think that those guys maybe that the team isn't quite interested in? I mean, how did you feel about that situation? Was it just more faith in Blake Bortles than lack of talent in those guys or whatever?
But before you answer, UCF, I am so glad y'all did not get Lamar Jackson, because I did not want to see that man twice a year. I don't think nobody in South Sport, no Houston fan, wanted to see him twice a year. I see what the fuck he's doing with a legitimate defense and a running back that isn't even a household name, and look at what they're doing, pounding the fuck out of the ball. I did not want that for us, and I'm so glad y'all didn't do the right thing in drafting him. So thank you.
Well, here's the thing. If we're gonna play if we're going to play hindsight over here, I'm not going to look at the 2018 draft and look at who we passed up. I'm just going to look at 2017. We passed up on Mahomes and Watson. Those guys are going to be better quarterbacks than Lamar Jackson. With Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's a nice player, but the way he plays football, he gets over 20 carries a game. With the way his body's built, dude, that might last, if he's lucky, 5-6 years. You know, if you get a guy like Lamar Jackson, you don't say, oh, we have our franchise quarterback for the next 15 years. Mm-hmm. This guy, that might last 6 years, but eventually he's going to have to start using his arm to throw the ball, and that's one thing that I'm still a little concerned about. I mean, I'm really excited to see Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, is because, of course, he's a really exciting player. I mean, don't get me wrong, but, right. You know, I do worry about his sustainability with the style of offense that they're building around him. You know, it's not that I don't think he can develop a good, you know, throw and delivery and all that kind of stuff, because I like his, you know, he's got a high, tight, quick release, but
yeah, he does.
You know, his accuracy and really just his ability as a quarterback, man, it's still up in question. But if we're gonna, I'm not too mad about maybe not signing a guy like Teddy Bridgewater or not drafting Lamar Jackson. I'm more pissed that we drafted freaking Fournette over Mahomes and Watson. That's my take.
Man, I see y'all looking like y'all intimidated by the sauceline tonight, y'all. Any other time y'all blowing this motherfucker up, y'all be talking that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all afraid to call in. Y'all ain't even texting. Where my boy Chandler? I ain't even got a text from my boy Chandler this evening, man. What's going on, Sauce Nation?
I guess
Texans fans are all over the place.
They just want to hear us talk to UCF. Well, shit, I mean, if we keep it like that, then I mean, there we go.
There we go. Hold on. Okay, I'm talking shit. Look, had to fire him up a little bit. What's the motherfucking deal, man? Who we got calling on the sauce line this evening?
Hey, man, this is Kenneth.
Kenneth. Yeah, of all the people I wanted to call in, your ass called in. Goddamn. Kenneth, what's the motherfucking deal, man? What you want to drop on the sauce line this evening?
Oh, man, first and foremost, shout out to you, shout out to Win, and shout out to UCF, you know. Appreciate y'all for all having this good-ass show. But, you know, first and foremost, what I wanted to address was, like, the Jaguars and the whole cap situation. Like, I feel like if you're going to try to reach, like, how are you going to, like, why would you sign Calais Campbell to that huge-ass contract? Granted, he was a good player in 20 last year. I mean, he's still a good player, but he's not, you know, he's not what he was last year. And you can see that he is getting a little bit older. What is he, like 30? I think he's in his 30s, 31 or something like that. I could be wrong, but why would you sign him to that long-term, huge deal? And why would you try to restructure him right now? Like, and Calais Campbell ain't gonna be over there talking about some, oh shit, let me take this pay. Man, fuck out of here. The nigga old. He gonna get every penny he can get, bro. A lot of these players, some of the D line man, a lot of these players, they ain't not taking pay cuts. And if you cut Blake Bortles, what is it? Don't show him like $18 million next year. So y'all gonna have y'all gonna be in that bitch with a lot of dead money.
Yeah, big CapEx, yeah.
Don't fuck y'all long term and restructuring contracts, like I said. Restructuring contracts, it's only putting a Band-Aid over a broken bone. Like, I mean, you might get a little bit of money from next. You're going to save a little bit of money this year or next year or whatever. But long term, that shit don't fix a damn thing. You got to live with the contracts that you done signed, essentially. So, you know, it's just like the Jags and the cap. I mean, weren't they like 30 or 40 million over the cap or some shit like that? Like some crazy number. I could be wrong, but, you know, they're way over the cap. And that shit is... The Jaguars are in a horrible situation, and even if you get a guy like Dwayne Haskins in draft, which I think is going to be a good quarterback, you know what I'm saying? The guy has no weapons around him, you know what I'm saying? He has no support system. Granted, the defense is going to be solid again next year, more than likely, but even if you get a quarterback, like, who's going to be around him? D.D. Westbrook is a solid receiver, but then again, like, other than him, because Fournette, once the team focuses on the run, they're going to force like, you can't just be making a young quarterback throw the ball out low 45, 40, 50 times. Like, when you do get a guy like maybe Haskins or whoever y'all choose to pick up, you know, he needs a support system, man. I just don't see the Jags, you know. I just don't see the Jags finding a way to find. They're not going to win a bunch of games next year. That's my opinion. But, you know, I don't know what y'all think. And obviously the check.
All right. Kenneth.
So, thank you. What's
up? Tell your mama Gary said what's up, nigga. Thoughts on that one, UCF? You know, as far as what is it? Hold on, we take this call real quick, and then we'll get your thoughts on that. What's the motherfucking deal? Who we got calling on the sauce line this evening?
It's your boy Roman.
Roman, what's the motherfucking deal, man? What you want to drop on the sauce line tonight?
First of all, I want to say what's up to you, Honcho, Wink, UCF Jaguar. Good show, no issues. Just a good show, man. From the quality, it's a good show. So first of all, I want to say that. But really, I just want to talk about like basically the who's really going to be contending for the AFC next couple years. I already said how I feel about the Texans in the past streams. I'm talking more about that tomorrow. But I don't know, looking at it, I think we can all agree the Titans is trash. I mean, goddamn, the Titans is the only one that really ain't got no future. I mean, you got Marcus Mariota, but he's mediocre. You don't know where he's going. I mean, at least Jacksonville's good. The only problem with them is just the direction they got now. I don't know how this offseason going to kill them because they over the cap, and that's going to hurt. But if they can keep those core pieces, Jacksonville will be talented. You already know about us. And then Indy, yeah, stop Indy. You got Andrew Luck. You can stay in any game. So, but to talk about this, yeah, man, it's shit. I was about to say. But what I was trying to say was that looking at Jacksonville, I mean, I think the issue is I don't know, man. They have the talent. They have. I like the core. I like Calais Campbell. I like Ramsey. I like Boyd. I like all of them. I don't know. It's kind of like the Rams problem. You know how everybody thought the Rams were going to have a problem with kind of the emotions and all the different types of, characters of the team. A lot of people think that was going to be an issue. And I think that's Jacksonville, man. You look at videos of Fournette and all of them, they cocky. They kind of walk like they had everything. Let's be honest, man. Y'all won 1 year. And y'all been mediocre. No offense, UC Jaguars, but y'all been trash for the past, 5, 6, 7 years. It's always been the Colts and the Texans. So the thing is, I didn't know it was Marone's first year. That's something I didn't know. I'm thinking Marone been there for a couple years. So I said fire Marone last stream. I don't think you should fire Marone because, I mean, it's his second year. But I don't know, man. I think with y'all, if y'all can find just a decent quarterback at best, I think y'all should probably go out there, maybe get Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, that's something you can probably get for a good trade or cheap. I don't know if he's a free agent next year, but I mean, hey, Teddy Bridgewater, before he got injured with the Vikings, man, Teddy Bridgewater was doing his job. So I think, man, you give him that defense, get a couple of wide receivers in the draft or by free agency. I mean, that would be solid. So that's all I got to say. I ain't got to say much this stream. Let's say what's up to everybody. That's all I got, man.
All right. Appreciate the call, Roman.
That's another quarterback.
Yeah, everybody, man, talking to me, Mr. Crispy and Popcorn. Forget y'all, man.
Roman, say
I know you here, Honcho. I know you respectful. Don't say nothing, but that issue gone. So that's all I got, man.
Yeah, good, man. And Roman say get up off him, man. Y'all better back, give him 50 feet, man.
He say, you see that shit y'all be talking. And that's another, but real shit on UCF, that's another quarterback we did not want y'all to get. We did not want y'all to get no Teddy Bridgewater because he protects the ball. He can extend plays. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but the man is accurate and he can make plays. And we know y'all couldn't have the quarterback like that regardless of the weapons y'all got right now.
All right, but I want to reply to a couple of different things from the last caller. When it comes to Kenneth, man, if you're gonna, I can see you when it comes to being hard on some players and saying some guys aren't performing up to expectations. You can go around around the team, really say a bunch of things about guys, but not Calais Campbell, man. Calais Campbell is if you put on the film, man, I watch every single Jaguar game. This guy is dominant. He's still dominant. I don't care how old he is, man. He's still dominant. He's got 9 sacks this year. He's 4th in the NFL in tackles for losses. More tackles for losses than J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, this dude is dominant. And, of course, you can look at his age and that's one thing about the NFL nowadays and fans nowadays. You look at the sexy stats. You're going to look at sacks and compare defense linemen on sacks. You're not going to look at tackles for losses. This guy dominates the line of scrimmage. This guy got a forced fumble last game that if he would have picked it up and ran with it, it would have been a touchdown. They didn't blow the play dead. So that's one guy. And, one thing about losing Mercedes Lewis last year on the offensive side of the ball, you lose Mercedes Lewis and, you lose a pretty decent player. He's a good run blocker. He was decent in the pass game. But one thing that you don't account for is the leadership ability. We lose Mercedes Lewis, and our offensive captains are Leonard Fournette and Blake Bortles. That's what our team is left with. If we lose Calais Campbell, that's another captain that we're losing. You know, you're not able to really measure, you know, the amount of leadership ability in a player. But Calais Campbell, man, that dude, I try to find every way I can to keep that dude on my team. And another thing I want to say, when it comes to quarterbacks, you know, I know a lot of people saying, oh, you know, if they bring in a quarterback, you know, they don't have much around him to, you know, do different things. Look, here's the deal, man. If you have a good quarterback, it can hide a lot of discrepancies on your team. You look at the Houston Texans. They don't have a very good offensive line, but they're still out there, you know, if they win, they have a chance of getting a playoff bye. You look at every single team around the NFL, every team has its weaknesses. Every team has its weaknesses. But one thing about a team, man, if you have a good quarterback, it hides a lot of those weaknesses. You're able to really develop a lot of stuff around that quarterback. And, you know, I don't care what people say. You know, if we bring in Dwayne Haskins, you don't have much around. Look, he can make guys perform well. I mean, if he puts the ball in the right places, players going to catch the ball. I mean, it's that simple.
You have a very solid point with that one, because our quarterback has done it 2 years in a row, and his season this year is far exceeded anything that he's truly done last year. But I think what a lot of, because we've had some Texans fans in the stream that are still not sold on him, and me saying that out loud, you hearing that as a Jags fan, you looking at Deshaun Watson, how do you view Deshaun Watson on this football team with what he's done, coming off an ACL injury, not having any other injuries, and winning football games, even in some tight games that people have said that we've had, and that people claim we haven't beat anybody, but we have like the fourth highest percentage in terms of opponents in the AFC, you know, but people love to act like we've beat nobody. You know, but how do you feel about Deshaun Watson when you view the Houston Texans?
Look, with Deshaun Watson, you guys are a top team in the AFC. I mean, obviously, if you win this weekend, you have a chance to get a playoff bye. Without Deshaun Watson, you guys are the 4-12 team you were last year. I mean, that's how big a quarterback can be on a team. I mean, you know, the Texans, they have, you know, if you look around, they have a tremendous D-line. They have a pretty good linebacker core. You know, when it comes to their secondary, it's probably still got something to be desired for on that. But their offensive line, like, it's not that good. But the thing is, man, you got the quarterback. Deshaun Watson is out here looking like a freaking dreidel out there, spinning around guys, making excellent throws, man. I mean, that shit ain't normal, man. That guy ain't human. And, you know, that's what Deshaun Watson is, man. He's a, you know, MVP candidate. You know, he'll be up in the MVP running for years to come. And as long as Deshaun Watson is there, the Texans will be relevant, and that's what good quarterbacks do for your team, man.
Absolutely agree with that, man. Shout out to D. Pritch. Says, tell UCF it's been a fun 3 months watching him rage every week. Rage live every week when the Jags took L.
Yeah, man, it's been rough, man. I record my videos right after the game, so I get pretty passionate and emotional. But you know, I had my one last rant video when it comes to the Steelers game, and after that, I was done. I was like, this season is a wash. Fuck off with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't give a shit what happens anymore, man. It's been rough. It's been rough. But I appreciate it. I get a lot of love from Texans fans, man. There's Texans fans always in the comments of my videos. It's definitely a passionate fan base out there. I got much respect for the Houston Texans fans.
Outside of last year,
hold on one second. Let me take this call real quick.
Fans.
What's the motherfucking deal? Who we got calling on the sauce line this evening?
Hey, man, this is Kenneth again.
Kenneth, did you relay that message to your mom for me?
Bro, damn, yo, this is bullshit, Honcho. Y'all be trying to call in sometimes, man.
No, nigga, you all be trying to call in. You talk more shit than anybody, Kenneth. Goddamn, what you want to say on the sauce line, nigga?
Hey, man, but what I wanted to say is let me come to make my point back to UCF. I understand that, you know. But, yeah, and Calais Campbell is still a solid player. Don't get me wrong. That's not the whole point I was trying to make. What I'm trying to say is that the guy is not going to sit here and take a pay cut. What is it, 2 years into his deal? That's all I wanted to say, man. That guys, especially at his age, he's not going to sit here and, you know, just as much as he may love the team.
I never said for him to take a pay cut, though. I said I find every way to keep him. And when I say every way to keep him, we might have to cut another player to be able to keep Calais Campbell.
Sit here and take pay cuts, man. It's weird that you see a lot of players in the league, especially that are producing at a good rate like Calais Campbell is, that are going to take pay cuts. And even if you do take pay cuts, like, you're going to be in a situation that the Dallas Cowboys were in for a couple of years. Like, they kept on restructuring contracts, and overall, they were like, they didn't have a whole lot of cap for a bunch of years, and they were in a fucked up situation for multiple years because of those contracts. But that's all I kind of wanted to say, man. That
I can appreciate the call, man.
hey, Honcho,
Yeah, like I said, man, I was never talking about restructuring his contract. I'm just saying find a way to keep his ass, man, because he deserves every penny that he's getting. You know, if we had to cut some other player that's underperforming, you know, cut him, because Calais Campbell, man, there's not going to be anybody that plays at a replaceable level for him in next year.
I could have sworn y'all gave Telvin Smith a contract like a year or so ago.
Yeah, we gave
Like
him
a $50
we
million
gave him an
contract?
extension last season, during the season.
Okay, I got a text coming in. It says, how do you think Vincent Smith will do tomorrow? We love you. So appreciate the love. I'm not sure who was sent that, but appreciate the love. Man, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to have super high hopes on Vincent Smith. Again, it was a great catch that he had that game, but again, the guy only has, 2 catches on the season, only played in a couple of games. So I'm not going to – I hope that it's a chance for him, you know, again, like I said, to get some catches, get a little bit of experience. But, I mean, it kind of is what it is when we're going in. I mean, we have no other real choices but to play Vincent Smith. So, I mean, he just needs the experience. So, I mean, hopefully he'll get him a couple of catches, make a couple of plays. But with their secondary being a little bit down, with Bouye not being available, hopefully, like I say, he can do a little something and just build up some confidence. But I don't have super high hopes for Vincent Smith. And that's not a knock on him. That's just, you know. As
far as Vincent Smith is concerned, if he's open, Deshaun Watson will get him the ball. Plain and simple. If he's open, if they scheme it right, or if he's just running past dudes because they're able to exploit matchups, he's gonna get the ball. Plain and simple. I mean, Deshaun Watson has the touch and he has the vision to find anybody down the field. I mean, does he always dump it off short like he should when, you know, the pass rush is closing in, you know, and things like that? No, but he always keeps his eyes down the field and he's looking for plays to be had to break the back of the defense. And this is why I love Deshaun Watson, because he's always trying to break your fucking neck.
All right, there you go. There's the link, man. Make sure y'all show UCF some love, man, for coming through. The link is right there, or you can click on the thing by his name and go to his channel and show him some love for coming through, for holding it down. Toxic City Tenny texts in, man. Shout out to Toxic City Tenny. Says shout out to Wink and UCF. Got to ask, what do they think of the AFC playoff picture as it is right now?
I love it. It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to. I mean, there's all kinds of new teams up here, man. The Chargers, I'm looking forward to. You know, we got a new Chiefs team with their new Patrick Mahomes out there. We're gonna have a couple of AFC South teams up in the mix, man. Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's gonna be a fun playoffs, and you know, I'll get to not have to watch a Jaguars play every week once it starts. So I'm happy about that.
Really?
I think it's gonna be exciting from the standpoint the AFC is only gonna end up having like 2 old guys in Rivers and Brady, and everybody else is young. I think that well, I mean, Luck is like 28, but he's been to the playoffs. He's done this. He's a seasoned veteran, so he knows how to get shit done in the playoffs. So I mean, it's about a matter of matchups, and I think it's about the battle of the quarterbacks. I think quarterbacks, and it's going to show what defenses are really stepping up and where they can take advantage of some of these offenses. Because I don't think some of these high-power offenses are going to end up making it in the playoffs. I really don't.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting, man, is like, you know, last year it was team over quarterback, and I say that when you look at the final 4 teams in the playoffs, you had Tom Brady, Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles. You know what I'm saying? It was like, usually you have like all kinds of elite quarterbacks up in there, but you know, what's going to prevail this year? Is it going to be good defense? Is it going to be stellar quarterback play, man? That's one thing I'm fascinated to see.
I didn't even look at it like that.
I got a question for you, UCF. I want to know your thoughts, man, you know, because perennially or annually or however you want to look at it, you know, the take on the national media, from the national media, is the AFC South, oh, that's the weakest division in the league, and, you know, they really don't have anything going on. But this year you're pushing out 3 teams that will have winning records. And the Jags, like I say, still a solid defense, just had some issues of their own. I think could have been a different conversation had things went a different way. What do you think we rank among the divisions in the league? Do you think we're still kind of a bottom feeder feeding off each other, or do you feel like that this is a division that produces contenders?
I mean, if you're looking at solely this season, I mean, we have 3 teams that are still alive in the playoff hunt going into week 17. So, I mean, I don't think there can be any disrespect thrown at the AFC South. And, the quarterback play is good. Of course, you have Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson are going to be good. I do like Mariota, but what I don't like about him are a couple things. One, the guy is always injured. 1 week he's going to have a left knee injury, and next week he's going to have a damn elbow injury. Like, you never know what's going to go on with him. I also think some of the coaching kind of holds him back, and it's kind of the Jaguars at the bottom that still have to kind of find their guy. But man, if the Jaguars can actually find a quarterback next year, and Mariota can start playing at a consistent level, you're going to have some fun AFC South divisional races for years to come, because Watson ain't going anywhere. Andrew Luck ain't going anywhere as long as his, neck or back, whatever hell was going on with him, holds up. But, but you never know, man, because, we look at the AFC South and we might project them to be good next year, but could they turn into an NFC South situation where all of a sudden the only team that's good coming out of it is the New Orleans Saints? I mean, going into this year, you thought the NFC South was the best division. And then,
Right.
the Carolina Panthers don't perform well. The Falcons don't do well. The Bucks are kind of the Bucks. But, yeah, I'll be interested in seeing. That's one thing that's so great about the NFL as opposed to, NBA or other sports, man. Like, really, any team has a shot. If you build your team good through the draft, if you have some good things fall your way, any given Sunday, the worst team in the NFL can beat the best team in the NFL. So, that's what I like about the NFL, man. That's why it's my favorite, sports league in America, and it'll be fun with the AFC South for years to come.
This is why I'm really gonna credit the Jaguars, and I hate to say it like this, but from last year, do y'all realize how respected the AFC South was when the Jaguars finished on top? And then when they made it to an AFC championship, damn near beat Brady, it was just like people were really clamoring and really looking, in the offseason, they were talking about the AFC South a lot. You couldn't turn on NFL Network, you couldn't turn on ESPN, none of that shit without hearing about that division specifically. And it was so hard to pretty much dictate. Texans fans, we pretty much knew the way it was going to outcome, and we knew a major reason. All right.
Sauce line this evening.
Hello?
Hello. Who we got calling on the sauce line?
Yeah, this is Cook.
Cook, what you want to drop on the sauce line tonight, man? What you got on your mind?
Well, first of all, any team that drafted Leonard Fournette after the LSU debacle and all the injuries he had at LSU, he's just doing the same thing he did when he was at LSU, and I agree with one of the presenters there. Leonard Fournette, I can never understand him getting in there. Y'all talked earlier about Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is like one of the worst coaches I see in all of NFL football. He reminds me of Denny Green. Lots of talent around him, but when it gets down to it, can't coach, doesn't know how to put them over the top. When you talk about having Hopkins and Watson and Watt and all these other people that are just amazing players and can't put it forth, then at that point in time, I don't understand. I believe a quarterback needs to be needed in Jacksonville. I think Deshaun Watson is doing a wonderful job over there in Houston, but I also want to say that this year has been the biggest progress because this year he stopped the running and he really settled in the pocket, and he's been just as influential and just as effective as that kind of quarterback as he was his first year when he was running all over the place. And so I think tomorrow the Texans beat the Jaguars. I think it's going to be pretty handily. I think you're going to have to get a coach into Jacksonville who's a disciplinarian, who's defensive-minded, and then turn over the offense to somebody who can run it. Don't overlook probably one of the most highly sought-after backup quarterbacks in the league, and that's Jacoby Brissett. Now, everybody forgets about Jacoby because Jacoby can play and play very well. I'll let y'all go.
All right, man. Appreciate the call. Anyways, I forgot all about Brissett. I really wouldn't. It was not even a thought remotely close to my mind. Y'all's thoughts on that call right there?
Man, I mean, he pretty much. I mean, he had some good points. I mean, you all know how we feel about Bill O'Brien. I mean, UCF probably hasn't really engaged us enough or been in enough streams to know the real problems that have surrounded Bill O'Brien. But as of lately, I mean, even I can't say the man hasn't been utilizing his talent, and that in a couple of games ago, he adjusted entirely too late. And that's a problem that we've had through him, and on top of game management and knowing when to take timeouts and, how he played, what personnel he chooses to put on the football field. I mean, we had a lot of that, but we haven't had that probably recently. And going forward, we're going to have to see what he does in the playoffs before we can judge him thoroughly. Because I can't even judge him on what he's done in the playoffs before Deshaun Watson, because let's be real, we knew none of those quarterbacks were going to take us anywhere thus far. And Deshaun Watson on a primetime game, knowing he's the only slot and everybody gets to watch him, the man has only lost one primetime game in the Houston Texans uniform. So I'm looking forward to seeing everything that goes forward. And Bill O'Brien just has to always exploit matchups and do whatever he can to win games. Squeaking through games is not going to cut it in the playoffs.
Your thoughts on any of the statement the last caller made there, UCF?
I mean, my thing about it is, obviously I don't know Bill O'Brien as much as a lot of Texans fans do, but sometimes just be careful what you wish for, man. Just because, as much as you want a new head coach, how sure are you that the next guy's going to come in and do a better job? I mean, I see Bill O'Brien as a guy that's been able to win the AFC South divisions with subpar quarterback play. I mean, he's won the AFC South multiple times, but who has ever been worth a damn that started for the Texans in the playoffs, I do think we will get a chance to really see what Bill O'Brien has once he actually does have a quarterback in Deshaun Watson playing the playoffs. And, that's when I really like to start evaluating guys, is once they get into the playoffs. And that's why I was so impressed when, we had like Doug Rowe in his first season going there and, win 2 playoff games and go into the AFC South, or come within a few minutes and a bad call away from being in the Super Bowl. That's one reason why I was really impressed with Blake Bortles, is because, he went out there and didn't have a single turnover in the playoffs and, played super well. And, really these guys, I like to see what they have in the playoffs and see whether or not they crumble, because, you see guys, regular season guys, like Kirk Cousins has always been good in the regular season. But, when it comes to postseason success or playing against actual teams with winning records, he hasn't been as good. And that's one thing, when you look at Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, when you compare the two, their regular seasons are like, you could really make the argument on who's better. But in the playoffs, Tom Brady has always been far better than Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning has basically has one Super Bowl win. I mean, he admitted himself in his final year that the defense basically won it for them. I mean, that's when I like to really judge players for what they are, and I'll be fascinated to see what the Texans do in the playoffs, man.
Very interesting point. Palace texts in again, and this is something I said the other day after we played the Eagles. Says it's Palace again. And one thing the Jags should do, which I would hate to see him 2 times a year, would be Nick Foles. With that run game, that defense would be a long day for the team they'll be facing. And that's kind of a thing I said the other day after looking at it. Because Foles, I don't believe he'll be an Eagle next year, because I think it's $20 million on the books if they both agree to extend him for another year. They said that they're all in on Wentz. I don't know if that's the move, but hey, that's their decision. I don't really give a fuck what the Eagles are doing. But I said that was my prediction, that Foles would end up on the Jags. What are your thoughts on something like that, UCF?
I mean, with my thoughts, man, I wouldn't mind getting a guy like Nick Foles. Just one thing I worry about is his history. History shows that you don't find franchise savior guys in free agency. I mean, the Broncos were able to find a guy like Peyton Manning in free agency, but that's because Andrew Luck was literally sat on their lap. I mean, can you guys think of anybody at the top of your mind that's actually a free agent acquisition quarterback that, I guess, besides like Drew Brees or something like that? But, Nick Foles, historically, he's only really been good on the Eagles. And while I would like to get a guy like him, I'd also like to, like, my approach, if I were to go about it, I'd cut the quarterbacks we have on the roster now. I would draft a guy high and then bring in a cheap free agent. I would bring in a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick and let him play for 2 games. I don't know. And see what a rookie quarterback has to do, just because, I want to invest. I mean, if I were to coach, I would literally do what the Jets did this year with Darnold. Start him from week 1 and, let him develop into the player that he can be. And, I'm not a big fan of going out, throwing a bunch of money that you don't really have much of and throwing into, a free agent guy to come in there and be, slightly above average. And I don't know, Nick Foles, I mean, he had a really good game last week against the Texans, obviously, but Doug Peterson's a hell of an offensive coach. And, do we have the personnel or the coaching to really be able to make Nick Foles look like he does on the Eagles? I personally don't think so.
Only quarterbacks I can think of was when Warren Moon went to the Vikings, when Brett Favre went to the Vikings, when the Eagles picked up Michael Vick, in those few years, that actually had some success. Of course, the Peyton Manning thing, that's probably the greatest free agent pickup of all time. I mean, outside of when Deion Sanders was going to the Cowboys and the 49ers and, winning Super Bowls and all of that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And Shannon Sharp probably going to the Ravens. And you can go on and on and on and on about free agency, but you would be accurate with the statement that a lot of good quarterbacks truly don't make it to free agency. Nick Foles is in a position because, he's pretty much going to be outsourced because his fucking contract is going to be too heavy to be a backup. You can't franchise that tag. You can't franchise tag him. And even, okay, he's a Super Bowl MVP. You can't even pay him under $20 million a season because he has a ring. And he put up 400 yards against a Tom Brady's defense and caught a touchdown. Like, he's done some shit. And it seems like he gets Eagles fans these past couple of years in a frenzy because look at how the team plays with him versus Carson Wentz. Don't get me wrong. I believe they're behind Carson Wentz, but nowhere near to the fact that they are with Nick Foles. Nick Foles was down on his luck. He got himself up. He got his confidence back. Made plays down the field, won this team, dominated in the playoffs, and got them to a fucking Super Bowl and dominated against Tom Brady. How many teams outside of the New York Giants can say that they done that in the Super Bowl? And the fucking, the choke artists in the fucking Falcons choked that away, and the Seahawks practically literally throwing the fucking ball right to Malcolm Butler when you should have ran the ball and you had multiple timeouts to get beast mode into the end zone. And that's a Super Bowl that if it's no Super Bowl that has ever been gifted to anybody, and that's why a lot of people view Tom Brady as the luckiest quarterback of all time. People love to say that about Eli Manning. No, Tom Brady is the luckiest quarterback of all time. His first 3 Super Bowls won by a kicker and having great defense, and he was just a great game manager. The Seahawks, we know what that situation was. The only unadulterated win and watching his brilliance and when he became the GOAT to me is watching him come back 28-3 against the fucking Falcons and put up like 35 unanswered points. That was ridiculous. You don't do that unless you're special. And that's what I think that's the same cloth that I think Deshaun Watson is cut with.
Okay. Yeah, I just think like, I want to get our own franchise quarterback. I want a guy like Dwayne Haskins to be there because I really think Dwayne Haskins will be the answer. And I just don't want to throw a bunch of fucking money at a guy kind of like it's a completely different quarterback. So if you look at the Bears, they threw all this money at Matt Glennon. He lasted 3 games, and next thing you know, they're on to their rookie quarterback. I don't want to throw a bunch of money at a guy, let him start 3 games, and the rookie's starting the rest of the season, and you got this guy sitting on the bench with his thumb up his ass, making all this fucking money. I don't want to be that team.
How would you feel about Teddy Bridgewater realistically?
It depends on how much money he gets. I worry about him just because of he's just a skinny guy. He's got skinny wrists, skinny ankles. I ain't gonna lie. His physique worries me. And you saw him literally miss 2 whole damn years because of an injury. I don't think that he can sustain multiple years as a starting quarterback. He did pretty decent with it. Even when he was on the Vikings, I think he had more interceptions than touchdowns. I think he was kind of led there by the good defensive play and a run game. Teddy Bridgewater, I wouldn't be too mad if we got him. It just depends on what price, you know what I'm saying?
I'm looking at it, Teddy Bridgewater with a healthy Fournette and or multiple backups, like a running back by committee, and you get at least a solid tight end and a receiver, a great possession receiver in the draft. I see no reason, because I think that's what it's going to take. I think him having a deep ball guy is not really going to work. I think if you dumping the ball out multiple times to guys like Marcus Lee and D.D. Westbrook underneath, you throwing 20-yard passes, which he is great between 15 to 30 yards. You get him on plays like that, and he can protect the ball. And the fact that he has mobility and is able to run shit like the run pass option, which our defense, as it's constructed right now, that's what you guys need. And this is why, and as a Texans fan, me looking at that, knowing how you guys are constructed and you tough already in the division, this is what y'all been needing the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, if there are 4 quarterback free agents that intrigue me, it would be obviously Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor. It would be like a Nick Foles if he becomes available. And it'd be, if you want to go really cheap, a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick. But, you know, when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater, I wouldn't mind signing a guy like him and, you know, seeing what kind of upside he has. You know, if he'd accept a 1-year deal, I don't know if people will really be paying him all that much money, especially with the way the NFL is now, where a lot of teams actually have their quarterbacks in place. So, I mean, I don't think there'd be that many teams that you'd be bidding against. You know, apparently the Giants want to stick with Eli Manning, so we'll see how that goes. You never know with the Buccaneers, man, because I definitely think that Dirk Cutter and their GM are going to be gone. So it's going to be a whole entire new front office. We'll see how they feel about a guy like Jameis Winston. You know, the Dolphins might be out there looking for a quarterback, but, you know, there might not be all that many teams to bid against, so we might be able to get Teddy Bridgewater for the pretty low.
If Jameis was let go from the Bucs, would you entertain Jameis?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't mind him as a player, but we already have a bunch of boneheads in the locker room that that are undisciplined, shit like that. I don't want to bring in this. The stuff that Winston does, it just doesn't. We need leadership on our offense. We need, like, right now our captains on our offense are Leonard Fournette and Blake Bortles. We want to bring in a guy like Winston to kind of bring us back. I don't think he'd be the right fit on a team like this. You know, not for the moment at least.
All right, man, it's been a thing. Definitely some stuff that Texans fans love to talk about, but the likelihood definitely unlikely. Ramsey's made some comments throughout this year. Mm-hmm. You know, from the beginning of the year, we all loved the comments where he was calling everybody trash, and that was cool. We thought that was awesome because he liked Deshaun, so we ain't had no problem with that. But some of the things he's kind of said throughout the year, seeming to kind of go against the team or whatever it may be. What do you think is going to be the situation long term for the Jags and Ramsey? Do you think that he will remain there? Do you think they'll try to use him as a piece maybe to trade, or do you think he's happy in Jacksonville? What do you think that situation is like, UCF?
Oh, I think they're going to keep him. Because here's the deal, man. Obviously there's some, like, you know, off-field kind of distractions with him and stuff like that, but you got to weigh a couple things. You got to see the kind of production and weigh it against the, you know, other stuff. And right now, you know, when you look at a guy like Fournette, I think the other stuff right now is outweighing the actual production. So that's why I'm not a big fan of keeping him. But Jalen Ramsey, he is what you want in a draft. When you draft a cornerback or a first-round player, you want it to be a cornerstone guy like Jalen Ramsey. And, you know, people will talk about, oh, you know, Jalen Ramsey isn't, you know, a team player. He's not like that. He loves the game. He's got his teammates' backs always. You know, he goes out there and says stuff to media that other players are thinking, they just won't say it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I like Jalen Ramsey. He gets a lot of heat and everything. I know he's probably one of the more hated players out there, but, I mean, he's the kind of guy, I mean, you know, he keeps it real, you know, and once he's retired, we'll be able to know all the different stories behind the Jaguars all these seasons. We'll know exactly what happened in 2018, maybe 10, 15 years from now when he's retired. I love about Jalen, you know, I want to give him a new contract and really keep him a Jaguar for a long time.
He's what Texas fans have been clamoring for, like, for a long time. Like, we had Jadeveon Clowney speak out against y'all, primarily against Blake Bortles and call him trash. But the way that our organization is ran, they try to silence guys like that. The guys have been penalized and been cut from the team, you know. So we don't have that type of vocal, you know, type of, I guess what people would call leadership. Honey Badger's providing that, you know, in terms of getting the team pumped up and shit like that before game. But in terms of someone we had outspoken, we did have a guy that was outspoken. His name was DJ Swearinger. He just got cut from the Redskins. And you see what that cost him. You know what I'm saying? Just by being truthful and speaking and saying shit was on his mind. But we can't act like we can't act like he didn't make some mistakes and he didn't do some shit here, because he was wild as fuck when he was here. But, like, Jalen Ramsey is an intriguing story going forward, because I think if the team doesn't do what they need to do on the opposite side of the ball, and I think if, you know, things start going south, I don't see him rearing up. I'm just being honest. I mean, and honestly, I think if he would leave, he would definitely come here because I mean he's always on. If you follow him on, if you follow Deshaun Watson, you follow Hopkins, bro. He's forever on a Hopkins post. He's forever on a Deshaun Watson post, and he's never talking shit. He's always. Do you notice like he's humble as fuck when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins? He talks shit about a lot of dudes, but when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, he's mellow as fuck. He respects that man, and even when you watch him in games. And he looks and he gets past him and he scores a touchdown and he sees the back of it and he sees that 10 on the back of his jersey. He like, bro, dude, like he giving me too many problems. Like he's too fucking. He can match the physicality. And I think with Jalen Ramsey, that gets in his head when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins. But DeAndre Hopkins did this shit to Richard Sherman. He done this shit to every cornerback, Patrick Peterson. It's over the last 2 years, the last 3 years, it's no corner that they said was the number one corner or a top 5 corner that he didn't abuse in the game.
Bro, you sound like you're dreaming right now, man. You want Ramsey bad, it sounds like.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not even that. I mean, honestly, to me, it just sounds like Jags fans are the ones who are in the fantasy land, not us. Because, I mean, we've been
predicting. We're in a fantasy land because we think we were going to keep Ramsey?
I don't think so. I think Cavs, and I think a lot of things going forward. You're going to have offensive linemen who are going to end up getting paid. Maybe they do something stupid like sign Fournette to a dumbass contract next year, or he has a good year and they sign him to a contract on his 4th year. The Jags are good for doing shit like this. Shad Khan shells out money like it's nothing. You know this just like I know. So it's not like the team is not going to pay these dudes, and you have entirely too many talented guys under contract to garner paying a guy like Jalen Ramsey $80 million in a couple of years. If the because we don't even know what the market will be for corners in 2 years. On average, they make it like $75 million. I think Josh Norman's like him and Patrick Peterson are like the highest, and I think Patrick Peterson is on to get like $9 million a season. Not between 9 and 11 million a season. So it's not that it's going to be affordable, but I think a player like Jalen Ramsey will end up getting paid more than that. I think he'll end up being in like the 80 to $100 million range. And can you guys say in 2 years you can afford that?
We're going to find a way to afford. I guarantee you Jalen Ramsey will get another contract on the Jaguars. Now, is he going to get a third contract with the Jaguars? I can't see that far down the line, but I can guarantee you, man, Jalen Ramsey's the one first-round pick that they actually hit on. They're not going to let him walk. You don't let cornerstone, because you got cornerstone players. You got cornerbacks, you got left tackles, you have defensive ends, and you have cornerbacks. Right. You try your best. If those guys are at all-pro levels, you got to keep those guys, man. Jalen Ramsey, back-to-back Pro Bowl player, probably going to make another all-pro appearance. He's going to be a leader of this defense going forward. I don't see any way they let Jalen Ramsey walk.
If he does, if for some reason you end up being wrong and they let him go, what's going to be your status of this football team going forward? How will you view them if they drop the ball and they do not lock a guy like Jalen Ramsey up on y'all defense?
Well, I got to figure out why then, because I know I was a little upset when we didn't re-sign Al Robinson, but the thing was they basically gave Al Robinson the same deal that the Bears did, but Al Robinson just didn't want to play with with Blake Bortles and stuff like that. If Jalen Ramsey leaves and we leaves because we didn't give him because another team outbid us, then that's on us, man. But if he leaves because we give him the same contract, but he doesn't want to play under this defense coordinator, or he wants to go out, he always wanted to play with this team. I don't know, just whatever the situation may be. It's all circumstantial, but we got to do everything we can to keep that guy. And if he winds up walking to a team that offers him more, then we drafted this guy, one of our only first round picks that's actually hit decent. Lockdown corner, those guys don't come easy, and that would just be a huge, one of the biggest mistakes this franchise could make.
So we got a text here, and I had to do a little bit of research. I didn't know what the fuck they was talking about at first, but it says, "Hi, I'm Sergio from the 904, and I was wondering, I don't know what that says, Tala."
904 is Jacksonville area code.
That's Jacksonville, yeah.
We're saying the opinion on the GOAT Tanner Lee possibly playing on Sunday and the impact that he may have. Also, whether Nathan Peterman may just need a fresh start in his hometown Jags may be the perfect option. I didn't know who the fuck Tanner Lee was. That's why I had to go feel like, who the fuck is Tanner Lee? So apparently somebody y'all activated up off the practice squad or something like that as a backup. So shout out to Sergio, but I don't know who the fuck Tanner Lee is, and then Nathan Peterman. Man, whatever with that. But what are your thoughts on that, UCF?
No, but man, when you have bad quarterback play, man, they throw out all kinds of names, and when you throw out guys like Nathan Peterman, that's when you know the size of the team. But Tanner Lee, he ain't gonna play. I mean, they activated him. I don't know. He was like our 6th-round pick out of like Nebraska. He sucked during the preseason. I mean, if they put him in the game, it's clearly because maybe the Jaguars were up 3 points on the Texans. They want to lose, so they do what the Buccaneers did a few years ago, where also they put in all their backups. If Tanner Lee goes in that way into this game, the Jaguars are trying to tank because Tanner Lee is god-awful. Nate Peterman, come on, man. I've seen enough of Nate Peterman to know that that guy isn't really going to be able to offer much, further on than a backup quarterback spot. But, Sergio, I think Sergio stays tuned to my channel, so shout out to Sergio. But, nah, man, Tanner Lee and Nate Peterman ain't the answers.
I see somebody just called in, but I don't be doing the unknowns. Y'all be coming with that bullshit sometimes, Sometimes it's funny, but sometimes y'all be on that stupid shit. So if you want to call back, I ain't finna call you when the sauce line offer no weird shit like that. So if you want to call back in, or you can call back into the sauce and make whatever statement you want to make. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you have a Nathan Peterman conversation. But again, fucking and I want to get your thoughts on that. Fucking Gruden said he thought with the year Nate Peterman came out that he thought he was a man. Hold on, let me take this call real quick. We'll get on that conversation. What's the motherfucking deal? Who we got calling on the sauce line this evening?
Man, this is Ricky motherfucking D in the place to be.
Ricky motherfucking D in the place to be. What's the motherfucking deal, man? What you want to drop on the sauce line tonight, man?
You know what, man? I didn't even get a chance to tune into the live broadcast or anything like that. I just knew y'all were up on there. So listen, I'm gonna tell you what I think the Texans should be like right now. I don't even know what y'all are talking about or anything like that. But let me say something. Right now, if I'm the Houston Texans, it's time to start telling people, you know what? Everybody's counting us out on a team that's 5-10. You know what, man? Fuck them. Fuck them. Everybody thinks that we ain't up for the challenge that's supposed to be in front of us. This is what we're here for. Everybody wants to know, you know what? We've been playing playoff football since week 4. Since week 4, we've been playing playoff football because our seasons depended on every single one of those wins we got. They were all hard. All of them were hard. Don't nobody want to talk about the fact that this is a 5-3 on the road team, though. Nobody wants to talk about that. Since week 11, we've been averaging 29 points per game. Don't nobody want to talk about anything because all they want to do is consider us to be one of the runner-ups, one of the also ran. But that ain't going to fucking happen because we got DW4 on the field with us. We got J.J. Watt. We got Jadeveon Clowney. We got Lamar Miller. We got DeAndre Hopkins. We got a team too, motherfuckers. And that's what we're going to go out and show. You know what? When we whip this ass tomorrow, I want everybody going, oh, shit. Now we got to go to Houston. This Ricky D in the place to be. I'm signing out.
Already, Ricky D, man. Hey, I like that Ricky D. Ricky D fired up, man. That's what's happening. Man, shout out to Ricky D, man. My fault. I think he was saying something. I think I clipped him at the end. Ricky D was fired up on that one, man. Ricky D usually be calm, cool, and collected. He was fired up. He had to say put some respect on his name, man. Got a text that says, Honcho, respect to UCF, good content, but if the Texans somehow lose and get the 6th seed, what will we do? We go on the road in the playoffs and still
go on the road in the playoffs.
Exactly.
What you mean?
You know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, that's it. That's just the situation. I mean, we got to play. I mean, ultimately, shit, even if you hosting a game, if you're going on the road again, whatever it may be, you got to play the games. You know what I mean? Like I say, anything can happen. This is just the playoffs we're talking about. So,
man, if you guys lose to these sorry ass Jaguars, man, you guys don't deserve a home playoff game. I'll tell you that much, man.
I agree with
Straight
you.
up.
I agree with you on that though, because again, like I said, we've had too many opportunities over these last few weeks, and you know, a couple of them you can say what you want to say about them, didn't capitalize on them. You know, we can talk about that Eagles game. We got a lot to speak on, and you know, I know folks were hot on BOB or whatever, but and again, that's why I say I love y'all, Texans fans. Sauce Nation ain't as much a problem, but we Texans fans around the globe. It's just sometimes I don't understand what people be thinking. Like, you can put that on BOB if you want to, but as long as if you putting 30 up in the game, your defense should be stopping whoever. You know, you got.
And you were doing that without Lamar Miller the last 3 weeks.
Exactly. I mean, your number one back is out. You lose your number two. So you know they concentrating on Hop got a bum ankle. You know, all these things that are working against you. You know, running game was porous. You know, you got backups in the lineup. That's with Rankin playing a significant amount of time and still getting you in that position. And your defense came home for a drive. I mean, that's not on BOB. What you got there?
DeAndre Hopkins got like 19 catches in the last 2 games.
And that's ridiculous on a fucked up ankle. And because you could tell, because somebody called in last week, and I said you notice that because when he was getting up like in that Eagles game, he was kind of getting up slow. And so I mean, it's just shit. It is what it is.
He say he's feeling good this week.
So,
he say the trainers did their thing on his leg this week. He say he's feeling good, and I believe him. When he say he's feeling good, I believe him.
Oh, good. So I mean, he gonna clown on somebody to this game. We've got a call coming in, and Rabbit says, just want to say what's up to UCF. I saw him on Sports Fury. All right, shout out to Mr. Rabbit. We're going to take this call real quick. What's the motherfucking deal? We got called into the sauce line this evening.
Hey, what's up, Honcho? This is Edwin Baptiste, man.
Edwin, what's the motherfucking deal, man? What you want to drop on the sauce line tonight?
Man, I just want to talk about B.O.B., man. Honestly, I think he's a solid coach, man. Everybody that's talking about fire B.O.B., honestly, man, just get him. This is B.O.B.'s first year with an actual quarterback, an actual decent quarterback and shit. And look what he did, shit. We had opportunity at a second round bye, first round bye. We even had an opportunity at the 1 seed, and we screwed it up. But the fact that we started off 0-3 and he's able to propel this team to where they at now, it just says a lot about what kind of coach he is, honestly. And I remember y'all talking about how the team has taken, I think it's about a week ago. I think it was you, Honcho. You was talking about how the team has taken on the identity and attitude of B.O.B. And I love his attitude that he brings. You know what I'm saying? After watching that motherfucking what's that shit, man? That show about the training camp.
The
Hard Knocks.
Great training camp.
Yeah, the Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about, though. They show it every year before the season starts.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks. Yeah.
But yeah, when I saw that shit and I saw how the man operated, bro, and it wasn't no gimmicks because we thought, the cameras were around. Like, the man was genuine, and I saw what kind of coach he was. And I was like, man, he's the type of coach he demands the best out of his players. And so, shit, I think that would be one of our biggest mistakes, honestly, if we got rid of B.O.B. That's just all I want. That's all I want to say, man. I just wanted to say that, man, because I really disagree with everybody saying that B.O.B. is not the answer. If B.O.B. ain't the answer, well, shit, motherfucker, please go find that nigga then. You just can't pull the coach out your ass, you feel me? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's all I have to say, man. But yeah, man, shout out to the Sauce Nation and shout out to the Round Table. And, yeah, I'm just finna listen, man.
All right, appreciate the call, yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. And like I said, that's my thing because, like I said, I know I get a lot of flack because I'm one of the few who've been kind of consistently supporting me, even when it kind of got thin sometimes out there, that I've always said, man, look, here's my deal. Yeah, I know y'all people are talking about fire Bill O'Brien, do all this, that, and the third, but who do you find? Who do you go get? Who wants to start over? People talking about go get some dude out of college. When people talking about Sweeney, like, come on, these dudes, they making more than fucking Bill O'Brien. You ain't got to deal with the type of shit, the bullshit that you got to deal with in the NFL. You go and pick your players, basically. I mean, if you're a decent recruiter, which a lot of these guys are, and then, the NFL and the NCAA are two completely different games. And then again, like I say, with that starting over with another first year head coach, we've already done that a couple of times, and it didn't start off, the best for us. And again, like I say, the dude, regardless of how you look at it, has put up winning records. Like we said a couple times this stream, trash-ass QBs. Now, was it the glorious records you wanted, 9-7? It is what it is. The one loss year was a year that was fucking decimated. Nobody would have won putting out Heineke and Yates and Savage and all that. And my beef with that was, and I was wrong too, because I said, I eat the crow on that I said, hey, yeah, you start Savage, let Watson kind of sit, learn the game, then bring him in when he was ready. And I'll admit that. I said that. But we saw how bad Savage was. I didn't realize at that point that line would be as trash as it was. And, then what DW4 brought to that and made that shit look completely different again. So I'll eat all the crow on that. But other than that 1 year, which was an anomaly because of the injuries, the man is giving you 4 out of 5 years of winning records. Yeah, he's made mistakes, but every coach makes mistakes. Super Bowl winning coaches have made mistakes. Fucking, you see Peyton make a mistake. You see Belichick make mistakes this year. I mean, guys who've been to the big game, guys who won it. I mean, it just with clock management and a lot of these things where you're, in the moment, it happens. Now, you're supposed to have guys that are supposed to help you. I don't know the challenges are another thing, and I can agree with some of the stuff, but ultimately, my issue with Bill O'Brien, and this is what I'll continue to say, is I would not be opposed to bringing in an offensive coordinator, taking some of that shit off his plate, and that I'm cool with. But as far as firing this dude who's come in and giving you basically nothing but competitive seasons, you're not guaranteed that with anybody else. And like I said, I was arguing with some folks talking about fire him and make Cornell the head coach, and we've seen what Cornell's overall head coaching record is not what's happening. So, I mean, and if you look at that Belichick tree, O'Brien's the only one who's probably had a winning record. So
he's the only one who's won divisions and gone to the playoffs consistently.
Yeah, man, appreciate the super.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful what you wish for, man. I mean, all these people want the next Sean McVay, but they're hard to find, man. If they're decent out there, they already have coaching gigs usually. But I don't know. I think Bill O'Brien's a good head coach. I think the fact that you just had him for so long makes people just bored of him and make people want to see new blood in there. But I'd be careful about getting rid of that guy.
Okay.
I'm definitely along the lines with Honcho as far as getting an offensive coordinator. We've been talking about that shit for weeks because we can see the mental mistakes that he's made and managing things that a head coach should be in charge of, and then you trying to call plays and you're trying to exploit.
We're gonna take this call real quick, and then we're gonna make this the last call, and then we'll finish the last little closing thoughts. What's the motherfucking deal? Who we got calling on the sauce line this evening?
Yo, what's the motherfucking deal, Honcho? It's your boy PNA.
PNA, what's the motherfucking deal, man? What you want to drop on the sauce line this evening?
I just kind of wanted to continue on what you were saying. You know what really irritates me the most when people be like, talking about fire B.O.B. His play calling is trash. All he does is run the first 2 downs and pass. But that's the thing. He's a head coach. He's not paid. He's not paid to call plays. Of course, that's what he's doing right now. And, we need to get an OC, an offensive coordinator. But O'Brien isn't a bad head coach. He's just a bad play caller. And I don't think firing goddamn OB will fix our play calling situation. I just think we need to get an OC who knows what they're doing and can utilize Deshaun Watson to his best. And I think we'll be good from there.
I agree, man. I definitely agree.
I'm willing to entertain Darren's bringing Wes Welker.
Yeah.
Since he's the receiver coach, and have him. He would know how to exploit the matchups and get receivers open for Deshaun Watson. He would get dudes open, and I'm still we all still real high on Sean Ryan. We all want to see what he can do. So we obviously have 2 options within the Texans organization that we could have as an OC already.
Yeah, and
I just think they need the chance.
And that's what it's going to be. Ultimately, is he going to give one of those guys the chance to showcase what they can do? I think that Darren with the West Welker, that was definitely a surprise because I didn't think that came out of left field. But the points that he made on that one were very interesting. But I think in a situation like that, though, ultimately, as interesting as it would be, I think you kind of got to go with Sean Ryan just because of the work that he's put in, and because I think he's going to be next in line to get an OC opportunity elsewhere because, there's been offers for him. I think you get that man the privilege. You're willing to let Vrabel have a chance to be your DC. You got to give Sean Ryan a chance to operate as an offensive coordinator.
And I think the seniority probably helps him too, because he's been here longer. He's been here since the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So here's the deal, man. You guys got anything y'all want to say before we get ready to slide up out of here?
Not too much, man. I mean, I'll be tomorrow during the game. I'll be live streaming the game on my channel. If you guys want to come by, talk some shit, it's always fun, man. You guys can see me get a little bit of roid rage going on because I get pretty passionate during the games. But man, it's we're closing out the season, man. I want to say congrats to the Texans on most likely wrapping up the AFC South. If not, they got a playoff berth. So shout out to you guys for that, and hopefully the Jaguars can retool this offseason and have a good 4-way battle for the AFC South crown.
Already.
Yeah, great having you on the show. Reached out, came right on with no drama, no nothing. It's all love. We appreciate it. We're gonna support you. Send dudes your way. Send dudes our way. That's all it's all love, man, and that's what we want to have. You came through, man of your word. Hey, we love that. If you ever want us on, shit, reach out to us. You know what to do.
Sounds good, man.
Already. Maybe we can get something going, maybe some collaboration when it comes around draft time, some off-season stuff. I think it'd be real interesting. It'd be good to link back up again. Y'all know how we do tomorrow. We're going to be doing the pre- and post-game. So, hour before the game, we'll be having a pre-game show. And then immediately after the game, we will be talking about what happened. And then we'll be kind of discussing the playoff scenarios, what we'll need to be looking for, and just kind of the situation the Texans are in. Win, lose, or draw, no matter what, we'll be there. But with that being said, hey, Sauce Nation, y'all are the freshest motherfucking ingredients of the world. I appreciate y'all. I want to shout out to Wing, shout out to UCF, man. Appreciate you for coming through. But with that being said, chunk up the deuce. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. But most of all, y'all stay saucy, man. Hey, we out.